Hey everybody, welcome back to Lunch Hour Lunch Hour VR. I'm your host Max Noir, and today I have a super exciting, interesting guest on. I'm joined here today with Guido Helmerhorst. Can you please let
Very
me
good.
say that
Very
right?
good.
I'm so glad. So Guido, thanks so much for being with us today, and I'd like to start out by asking you, where in the world are you during this crazy time?
Crazy times indeed, Max. Thank you for inviting me. Great to be here. And I'm joining you from Delft, the Netherlands. So it's a little off to Rotterdam, and yeah, crazy times indeed. So this might look like my office, but it's the home office.
Yeah, that's awesome. Before we started the show, I was totally tricked into thinking. I asked Guido, I was like, "What's it like to be working in an office right now?" And I was totally fooled. So nice job with the background.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah, I also have realized lately it seems like there's a really up and coming, thriving immersive tech scene in the Netherlands. Can you tell us a bit about what it's like there?
Definitely, yeah. So it's definitely up and coming. You see more and more applications. We were part as WorkVR. We were part of the Yes Delft incubator, where we also saw more and more immersive technology startups coming in. A lot of things are happening in healthcare, in training, but also in games. So it's a pretty, well, I would say, up and coming crowd in a way, and area. And at the same time, yeah, we're in the middle of it. So it's sometimes also hard to kind of assess how it's been seen from the outside.
Right, absolutely. So you just mentioned VR trainings, which I know is one of the big things that you are working on with Warp VR. So can you sort of give us a bit of a rundown with what types of projects you guys are working with?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we started about 4 years ago. I have a background in the airline industry, so that's where I kind of saw the challenge of situational training in an operational environment. And then from there, we kind of set out to create something which was scalable for companies to create their training, to have their training for a lot of employees, but also in such environments that could be dangerous or not accessible or difficult to organize. And especially when you talk about training 500 people or 5,000 people or more, how do you go about? And that's what we're set out to do, and that's about 4 years now. And we basically enable companies, and big or smaller, to create their own scenarios, VR training scenarios, based on 360 video, interactive. So really learning by doing, learning by making mistakes, by experiencing consequences. And that's what we show and enable via Warp Studio. And things like, in the safety area, evacuation training we did for KLM, but also a bank robbery for a bank in Austria. Soft skills we see more and more. Communication, how to handle difficult conversations, emotion, difficult customers. Yeah, so more and more in that area, and that's it's been a wonderful journey so far.
Very cool. So what do you think is one of the best industries that should be, if they're not already, thinking about incorporating VR training programs?
Wow, that's as a startup, we were asked, and still are asked a lot of times, what's your focus? Well, what industry are you in?
Mm-hmm.
And for us, we never wanted to make that decision because we see those applications basically everywhere. So of course, there are some industries like healthcare, like oil and gas, like aviation, so heavy or operational driven industries in a way, where you have people in the front line working, making it happen, where training on the job is a challenge. But also in the more maybe white collar and office arena, you have the soft skills, which is now often trained in classrooms and a couple of days workshops and seminars with actors. But especially during this time, it's been a while since people have been in a classroom. Demand is still there, and you still companies still want to train their employees to provide better service or to have better, efficient, well-organized teams. So how do you do that also in these times of not being together?
Right. Yeah, and I definitely resonate with what you were saying at the beginning there. You know, like when people ask you what industry you're in, who you're creating VR for, and as a VR startup, you know, you're creating it for whoever comes through that door.
Yeah.
So that's great. You mentioned oil, and I know that you created something for the oil industry, and we do have a video to play. So I'll show that to the audience, and then you can tell us a little bit more about it.
Definitely.
How a big oil giant uses VR to train safety awareness. Often, traditional e-learnings are used to teach employees about unsafe situations. But can safety really be learned that way?
I need you to get the pump back up again, otherwise we'll be in big trouble.
Knowledge questions like, what is unsafe in this situation, are not asked in real life. You have to perform a task. There's time pressure from clients and management. Oh, and safety.
Hey, watch out for that box.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. You know, you always got to keep your eyes open for all kinds of dangers in the workplace. Thanks so much. Grab these tools, let's get out of here. We're in a hurry.
Yeah, let's go.
In this interactive VR training, you have a job to do.
Great job, now let's get out of here.
And you need to do it fast.
Well, hurry up!
But do you pay attention to unsafe situations?
Yeah? Great.
Are you aware of any potential dangers? Working safely means putting knowledge into practice.
Ow! Oh!
By being trained very close to real-life practice, with all emotion involved, safety knowledge will stick. By using time pressure, emotion, and storytelling, employees are trained more realistically, resulting in an improved awareness for unsafe situations. Be safe. Learn differently.
That was awesome. So I have one question before you sort of give us the rundown. What was the process like of filming the scene where something drops on the guy's head?
Yeah, that's in a way that's a challenge, because we were actually filming in an operational site here in the Netherlands, where you have strict safety measures. So that there was a challenge, but we managed, and in the end, the actual falling of the camera is done in post-production.
Ah, okay. Well, it looked very realistic.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, just tell us a little bit more about that project and the process of it, and then the outcome.
Definitely. So the question we got from this our company was, okay, so we do e-learning. We train people on safety and safety awareness, and we do that in a certain way, but it's always very difficult to train them in real life situations, because they also know that safety awareness is something you always have to have while doing your job. And they saw the technology and the idea and the storytelling part as very interesting to try to come really close to those real life situations. So that's where we started. We gathered a team of experts, and we sat down on creating that story. And the interesting thing with experts is that they always say, this and this and this need to happen, and they tend not to think about consequences. But in this situation, in this training we were creating, it's all about learning by doing, and learning by making mistakes and experiencing the consequences. So it was a very interesting process, and we use our tool, Warp Studio, the platform to create the scenario. So you really use it as a storyboarding tool where you say, okay, so who am I? Where am I? What is happening? What should happen? Or what should people do? What shouldn't they do? And what are the consequences? So you're really gradually building that story, and eventually coming up with something where you say, okay, so we have this learning objective, and now we have an experience where people, when they walk away, have learned that you have to pay attention, that there are multiple factors involved, that there's emotion involved, because we really try to put them in a situation where you have that pressure from the manager breathing down your neck. So it's not a kind of a search and find kind of thing, but it's actually being in the work, being busy, and then you still have to be safety aware in this case. So that's the process. So eventually, we created the scenario in Warp Studio. Then the output of that is your script. So you can export actually that scenario, that storyboard, and use it and bring it to set. And we filmed that in one day. So we can be very efficient and effective. You also have to be in such environments. So we filmed all the scenes, and then post-production, including the camera, of course. And then we upload the videos, the short clips, because they're not, because it's interactive, you make choices. There are short clips, it's only 20, 30, 40 seconds. You upload it to the platform, you put in the interaction elements, so really combining the storyboard with the video. And then you hit publish, and then it's ready to be experienced by trainees. And we're now also in the process of connecting it to their learning management system, so that VR can really be part of that learning journey, of that learning path. Saying, hey, here's a quiz, here's a video, but now practice in a real life situation, and then the data is also sent back. And we're now in the process of implementing that. And at the same time, we did a couple of new scenarios, also safety, with this particular company. And now also talking about soft skills, because that's what happens, as I think we all know, or at least if you experience VR, that you say, oh, but if this is possible, then I know a couple of other situations where we want to train a lot of people in a flexible manner.
Right. It snowballs.
It snowballs. Yeah. No, it's not a fast snowball though, but it snowballs.
Oh, I know. The VR sales cycle is a long, vicious one.
Yes. Well put. Yeah.
So that's really interesting. I mean, it seems like you guys have been able to create a really, really efficient, pipeline of how these, projects work. I know my company and we are consistently being asked, because, creating VR training programs or VR really anything, you need to have some pretty decent budget, which is why, many enterprises are the ones who are sort of spearheading this type of thing. So I wanted to ask you, a lot of people are concerned with the upfront cost, but, in our experience, you see that if you can build a successful training program or, whatever it is, you end up saving quite a bit of money on the back end, not having to hire real life people consistently, and also mitigating the risk that's involved in doing, the training in real life all the time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so well put. That's definitely the case. It's you have upfront costs, so and therefore it needs to be at scale at some point. I will come to that, because this is where we talk about really custom-made scenarios, of course, for clients. Or we're now also working on what we call the Warp Store, where we have more generic off-the-shelf content, where you can start for a small budget, for example, for soft skills training. But to stay a little bit with the custom scenarios, We did another project for the evacuation training for KLM, and that's where you see also the benefits in being able to provide the training when people actually come in, because normally an evacuation training is once a year, and then the alarm sounds, everybody puts down the work, and then they walk outside, they wait, and they walk back in, and that's the training. And that's basically what it is. So you have no data. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know if they follow the other because they think the other one, the colleague knows. So we created the VR scenario in the hangar, real people, real aircrafts there, their environment. And now you see that they're able to train, literally anytime, anywhere, but also in between, kind of in the flow of business or in the flow of work. So it also triggers and needs a different mindset in saying, hey, we can now do training on the job, situational training, in a different way, and we can actually save money. One, I think, additional thing, some people are realizing more and more, is that once you record it, you have more bang for your buck. So these one-time training cost money, they cost resources, they need a lot of effort, but the day after or even the hour after, it's gone. You don't have anything. But now you're creating something that's lasting, and and there's real value in that. There's real value in that.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of grade school when they would put the alarm on for, a fake, hurricane or earthquake or whatever it is. And, I don't remember any of the things that I was supposed to do. Or, like when you're on an airplane and they're telling you what to do in the case of an evacuation, which is exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Who actually remembers all of those steps, even though you might have heard them a bunch of times. So the main difference is that you're actually experiencing some sort of an accident or a tragedy in these scenarios, which, connects with your brain in a way that no other technology or pamphlet has the capabilities of doing.
Yeah, definitely. And if I may add one other element, it's about emotion.
Yeah.
So you can train. I think we also did a CPR training. That was actually one of our first 4 years ago. But the interesting thing there is it's typically something you get trained in a classroom. You see a PowerPoint slide, you're with 10, 15 people there, PowerPoint slide, 6 steps within 6 minutes. You have kind of the doll where you can practice kind of hands-on. And then it's, okay, guys, good luck when you walk out of the door. Right. But the actual proof and the actual proof of the matter is when you're actually in such a situation. And then it's emotion, it's chaos, and that has an impact. So, and that impact is something we really want to get close to, because now you can actually have such an experience, or at least get real close to, without the danger and without the actual consequences. But then for future, when it's really needed, you have part of that experience in your backpack.
Right. Absolutely. I want to take a second to remind the audience that if you have any questions for Guido, you can feel free to pop them into the comments section, and then we will be able to show them up here on the screen live and address them. So feel free. And with that, I'm going to show the demo that you did for KLM.
Perfect.
How training with VR is a big time saver for KLM.
Hi, can you pressurize hydraulic system A and B for me? Here's the manual for the task.
In this VR training scenario, made by KLM, you are a maintenance engineer working on an aircraft. You need to put pressure on the hydraulic systems. But do you know what to do? By being trained in VR, you not only learn how to execute the right procedure, but you also get to experience the consequences if you don't get it right.
Hey! Stop!
Because of VR, engineers can practice more often, making them more capable of doing their jobs. And since this training can be done in between activities, the operation is not disturbed and aircraft maintenance can be kept operational. Through this interactive training scenario, engineers can finish their training programs a lot quicker. On average, training duration is shortened by at least 30%. Be efficient, learn differently.
It's super cool. I was immediately overwhelmed by the amount of buttons inside of the the airplane. So you know, maybe I'll need this one day if I decide to become a pilot.
This is for engineers, yeah. So it's of course a different, but still, yeah. It's in a way it's the same. So maybe to build on that, what you see and also more and more coming out is more 3D modeled training, also in this space, which also has a place. But I think the example or the benefit of using 360 video is, well, time to market. So we can have such a training up and running in 3-4 weeks. Because of kind of the efficiency and the workflow and the platform we have for that. But it's also that we use actors, we use people. So again, getting close to emotion. So I think also in technical training, you will see more and more, well, a change of boundary or the dissolvement of the boundary between technical skills and soft skills. Because yes, you're technical, but still it's important to communicate and to have people around you and to make sure that that you know that they're safe. And that is something which can be really well trained with and using 360 video.
Absolutely. And you mentioned some of these more soft skill training programs. So can you tell us a little bit about what you've worked on in that space?
Yeah, definitely. So we started with, and that's also one of the demos, we will come to that, in for example, customer service. So you're a store employee, an angry customer comes in and you have to, or at least she's agonized, she's not happy. And then you have to deal with her in the sense that you have to make her kind of happy again and help her in the right way. So that's very customized. The other part, what we're now doing, and we're also partnering up, or we have partnered up with a training agency in that sense, where we say, okay, so soft skills, so dealing with resistance, delegating to team members, giving feedback, those are all, well, almost fundamental, but at least very important skills, especially also nowadays, where normally you're being trained with an actor or in a role play kind of setting. But we're now moving, or we have moved it to a digital environment where you're at the office, you have your colleagues around you, things happen, the customer is unhappy. So those are all scenarios we're building up in what is to be a communication skills in VR kind of program, even consisting of, well, as we see it now, about 12, 16 scenarios where you can actually experiment, try it out, being in front of somebody who's angry at you, and how do you deal with that? And because it's interactive and because you offer different choices, it's also a safe way of experimenting. Because in a classroom, you're often, it's more a performance setting, because you have people around you, you have your colleagues. It's a little bit about status. You don't want to fail, but learning is about failing, and learning is about making mistakes. So VR is now providing a safe learning environment where you can train, you can make mistakes, you can do it again, and become better in dealing with those more soft skill situations.
Absolutely. So we're actually coming to the end of our time, so I'm just going to jump right into that demo.
How BT retail staff gains confidence in handling customers. In this VR training scenario, you are a sales employee in a telecom store. A customer walks in. She looks agitated, and it's up to you to help her out. But how? What is the right way? And how do you handle customer complaints?
Thank you. Yes, I'm in a real rush. Please, can you help me quickly? You've taken £500 more off me than you said you would. I want an immediate refund. You've put me in my overdraft.
By playing this interactive virtual reality training, retail staff is more confident in interacting with customers. They are taught how to tackle customer questions, which translates to improved customer satisfaction and sales. This VR solution enables British Telecom to train not only more often, but also at those moments that works best for the stores. Staff can be trained before the store opens, in off-peak hours, or after it closes. Be confident, learn differently.
Awesome. And I wanted to just take a moment to say that, and I want you to tell everyone more about the Warp VR app, but Guido, before showtime, got me all set up. So I have my Warp VR app here, which includes the customer service demo. And it's really cool the way that it enables you to either play on your smartphone, or you can actually quite easily transfer it onto your VR headset. So I highly recommend everyone giving it a shot. And I'll put up the QR code at the end of the show so that you guys can get some easy access to it. But yeah, tell us more about the app.
Yeah, so thank you. It's great that you're already trying it, so that's awesome. The app is basically what the end user and what the trainees and the employees experience and use to get into VR. But it's part of the kind of the total platform where you have the ability to create scenarios, you have the ability to distribute them, so to actually make them available via the app to your trainees or to your users. And then the third part is the analytics, because people start playing, they're starting to make decisions, and that performance data is also sent back to the platform. So that's, and the app, it's a standalone app, so it's iOS, Android, because we saw that also in light of scalability, yes, VR is the holy grail, but you need those stepping stones to get there. Because companies nowadays, well, maybe some, but the majority won't buy thousands of headsets at this point in time. So you have to enable them to, at least that's how we look at it, to be flexible in saying, hey, here's the app, you can play it on your mobile phone. Hey, here's, you're back in the classroom, or we send you a headset, sign into your Pico or Quest and play it there. But maybe after a month, play another scenario back on your mobile phone. And really being flexible and use what you have at hand. And that's what what is enabling scalable training, basically.
Awesome. Well, we've reached our last minute, unfortunately. This show always goes by way quicker than I expect it to feel. But I'm going to pop up that QR code now in case anyone in the audience wants to easily access the Warp VR app. Let me see if I can get our faces in here. No, I can't. So just enjoy this awful layout for a moment. And if anyone misses the chance, you don't get to the QR code fast enough, you can just go to the App Store on your smartphone and you can type in Warp VR. I found it very easily. It's the first option. So with that, Guido, I would like to thank you so much for being here. It's been really, really fascinating to learn more about what you're doing with VR trainings. And it was a real pleasure. So thanks.
Thank you, Max, for inviting and for the conversation. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Absolutely. And if anyone wants to check out more of Warp VR's work, you can search them Warp VR on YouTube, Warp VR on Twitter. You can also add Guido on LinkedIn. Here's his name. And lastly, a quick second of self-promotion. If anyone is loving the show and you're appreciating the work we're putting into it, please consider subscribing to us on Patreon, patreon.com/maxnoir. Any of your donations are going to directly support the startup costs of the show and things like that. So much, much appreciated. And thank you again for the 10 people who are already supporting. So thanks a lot, everyone. And we will see you next week. Thanks, Guido.
Thanks, Max. Bye-bye.
Bye.